We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you enhancing your productivity isn't about working harder, but instead improving our ability to focus? When we have a lot of ideas and creativity floating around in our minds, focus can feel like a challenge. The good news is this is a skill we can improve on. Intentional focus is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves in achieving our long term goals and aligning those with our desired lifestyle. If we don't focus and have an intention on what we want, we're definitely not going to get there. And if we don't take time to get good at this skill, achieving our long term goals becomes nearly impossible because we end up getting pulled in so many different directions that we go nowhere really fast. Today, I want to talk to you about saying no to what doesn't serve us. So, removing the fluff, removing the things that get in our way, planning ahead and being intentional with how we spend our time and what it is we are achieving and accomplishing, managing our minds and distractions along the way, blocking off our time so that we know that we have that dedicated time. And then within time blocking, having focus time, so time specifically set for results we want to achieve, and then aligning that focus with those longer term goals so that we know for sure and clearly that what we're doing is, in fact, reaching those longer term goals that we have set for ourselves. The first thing we must become comfortable doing is saying no to what doesn't serve us. Setting boundaries and prioritizing our commitments that line with our values and goals will save us massive amounts of time. Boundaries are not something that always need to be spoken aloud. Sometimes they do as they're being violated, but the thing that we must understand is boundaries that we set involves our behavior based on what other people are doing. So it is about what we do for ourselves, depending on what other people do, not changing other people's behaviors or saying, you need to do this differently, or I'm setting the boundary that you have to stop doing this or start doing this. We can't change other people. No matter how badly we might want to, we will never be able to go and completely just change people or make them different. So, what we can do is focus on ourselves and what we can do and our own behavior. So, if someone's doing something that we don't like, we can then remove ourselves or take an action that then protects ourselves or allows us to receive our own desired outcome versus trying to muscle and fight and resist somebody else because, as you may know, that doesn't end well. And we're going to end up exhausted, feeling defeated, and still not reaching that end desired outcome. And it can feel really challenging to say no to distractions or different things that come up that might detract us from our focus and the higher purpose that we have in mind. If we have these people pleasing tendencies, this can feel really uncomfortable, but realizing we aren't and never will be for everyone, we can never please everybody and be able to help everyone, it allows us to start saying no to the wrong things. When you're running around trying to please everybody and do everything for everyone, you are spreading yourself so thin that in any area that you're helping or serving or creating anything, you're not going to get very far or create anything very valuable because your efforts are spread out way too far. So, being clear on our desires for the big picture is what makes it really easy to quickly identify, okay, this thing over here fits in my bigger path, this thing doesn't, and it's got to go. And it's totally possible to practice this assertiveness to decline things that might come up or be requested of us, or even different opportunities that come up that might sound fun or like a good idea. But when it doesn't align with what we want to do long term, we can learn to say no to that. And we simply can just say no. We can also say, no, not right now. If it's something you want to help with or that you do feel called to, but you understand that it's not going to fit in where you set up, where you're at currently right now, maybe you schedule it out to another time. And you can also share other important deadlines that you're working on, which you will have. This won't be a lie, because when you take the time to set your goals and you have those tactics to reach the goals and then you schedule them out, you have those on your calendar, saying yes to something else that will overlap with that is actually going back on your own word to yourself, and you deserve better than that. We want to improve and nurture and take care of that relationship that we have with ourselves, and so putting ourselves on the back burner, putting ourselves last, and constantly reprioritizing the commitments that we set for ourselves that were supposed to come first teaches us that we can't trust ourselves, and that's going to affect every aspect and every area of our lives. Planning and intentionality are other skills that can change the game for us and send us straight across the goal line. We can take time to plan and set our intentions for our days, weeks, months, and the year ahead. Taking time to plan ahead is invaluable. You're ensuring you eliminate as much time waste as possible. You're eliminating the time that you'll spend going back and forth once you've started taking action. Whereas when you plan ahead, you've thought through these things ahead of time already. So instead of, just running into your day and taking action wherever you think possible in kind of this survival mode of, oh, there's this thing over here and then this thing over here, and I got to do this and I got to do that. When you've taken time to plan ahead, you've already thought about some of these things and been able to line them up intentionally. Sometimes we can batch our tasks. So if there are things that are similar, we can have a time block set and knock them all out in one time versus this back and forth, which wastes so much more time. Planning ahead also ensures we stay on the right path and understand what does matter to us and what is most important to us so that we don't stray from that. We know where we want to go or how we'll end up there. This makes it so much easier to say, yes, this thing over here moves me toward my goal and it falls under that bigger picture I have for myself. And this thing over here doesn't really line up and is actually a distraction, or this might come in later down the line. So you're able to make those decisions for yourself and for your plan without just running blind, ending up wasting time on the things that don't actually matter or don't actually get you anywhere. How many times have you spent hours, days, weeks, months on something only to look back and realize, yikes, that was not getting me anywhere. And now I have to kind of start over because I didn't think it through ahead of time. We can take time to incorporate planning rituals into our routines and our regular schedules to be able to enhance our productivity and focus. And initially, this might feel like it's going to take a lot of extra time, or that maybe you think, oh, I don't have the time to do that. But again, this actually saves us time long term. And there's a few ways we can incorporate this. It can come in yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, or all of the above. You could do by quarterly. And this allows us to recognize things that we might want to stop doing, things that we want to change, anything we want to adjust. And then as the things that we're adding in become foundational, we can also add and start building the blocks of what we're creating. When we do a daily review, we're getting this close up picture to tweak our processes and our approach up close. So we're seeing in real time what's working, what's not. And then as we do our weekly, monthly, or annual reviews, that offers this further zoomed out picture and perspective to understand longer term where we might need to adjust and where we want to go going forward. This time to reflect also allows us time to celebrate our progress and look back. It's very easy to forget as you're setting goals and moving forward and working on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing to go back and actually celebrate, hey, I've done a lot so far and that's also something to recognize. And then of course we can make changes as needed, refocus where necessary and continue on the path to our goals and our dreams. Then we must work on managing our mindset and the distractions that come up along the way. So we can manage our mindset and return to what matters after experiencing any distractions or setbacks or things that get in our way on the journey. In the beginning, it can feel easy to fall into the trap that we're at the mercy of our external environment. And while it's true we cannot control the environment outside of us, we can control how we react to it and what we're planning for. So, as you work on growing your focus muscles and experience these setbacks or fall into distractions, be gentle with yourself because it does take time. This is normal and you're human. It still happens to all of us. No matter what you do, the one thing you don't want to do is quit. Quitting is the quickest road to failure. The most effective response that we can have is recognize what happened and jump right back in where we left off and refocus and keep going. Many people also lose so much time worrying, sitting in overwhelm or self doubt. And despite what we think or how productive we might think we are, like stewing over different ideas, and our mind is working so hard to process through these negative and uncomfortable emotions and thoughts about what's happening, they don't help us. They send us in circles, and then we wonder afterwards, what did I even accomplish? Most of the time in these spirals, the answer is we've accomplished nothing. Unless we are action and solution focused, spinning and indecision or an overwhelm are not helpful to us, and we end up going nowhere. Instilling practices for our mind, such as meditation or self check ins or deep breathing, can also help us refocus because when we're stressed, the logical part of our brain can turn off, and breathing that good oxygen back into our lungs can get that logical brain back online where we can think from a clear space and take productive and intentional action. And then working these practices long term into our routines, whether it's our morning routine or some kind of daily practice that we're working into our schedule, we're practicing long term. And that, 10, 20, 30 minutes that you're spending meditating, breathing, journaling, all of these things, that infuses itself into the rest of your life. It soaks into everything else that you do over time, and it becomes a practice that is all encompassing in your life and the work that you do, not just in those few minutes and short time that you're spending doing it in your mornings or each day. There are also things we can do to minimize the external distractions and create environments that are conducive for our deep work and concentration. For example, if you stop and exhale as much as you can, get all the CO2 out of your body and inhale deeply, filling your belly up as much as you can, and repeat this at a minimum of 3 times, if not more, if you want to, you'll reconnect with yourself and it makes refocusing so much easier. You can also plan ahead for different distractions. A lot of times we think, that the things that pop up are emergencies or unexpected. But if you think about it and you think back over even just the last day or the last week or the last month or quarter, what are the things that have popped up for you? And is this a regular thing? If this keeps happening, maybe you don't know exactly what time, maybe you don't know exactly when it will happen, but you know that these things happen. So you can take time to think through what those are for you and the work that you're doing or your life, and be prepared for that to happen so that you are ready and you're not bombarded or you're not overcommitting to what you think is possible only to have those things pop up and get in our way. So we're setting our intentions that are actually realistic and we're able to complete. We can then take time for time blocking and scheduling our focus time to ensure we're moving toward the goals that we've set. Time blocking is looking at your calendar, and as we've said, you have your big goals. We understand the tactics that it takes to get there, and blocking off time to work on that project or get something done. And we can plan our weeks and days ahead of time, thinking through those different commitments and things that we want to do in order to achieve our goals. The focus time that we schedule is more results focused. And by the end of, let's say you block 3 hours, you can say, I will have written one full chapter at the end of the hour of my book. And when the time is up, I will accept the work I've created. I know it's good enough for now. And then we move on to the next thing. That is our time to be fully focused, not allow distractions in. We can turn off our phone, we can turn off notifications, turn off all distractions, and not let anybody in and really focus in and get what we want to get done, completed. And some of that boundary setting we talked about really comes into play here with time blocking because that's where we have to say, if there's anything you need from me, I'm going into this blocked focus time and I won't be available for questions or interruptions. So if there's anything you have from me, bring it to me during this window of time or wherever that fits in your calendar, making sure that people know, the people you work with or the people in your life know and they're aware so that you're not being interrupted and you're, eliminating that through setting some of those boundaries there as well. So we've understood what our goals are and our commitments, and we found time for them and block them on the calendar. We want to go back and double check we're being honest with ourselves because we can only do what fits in our calendar. So if we fill it up and there's more on our list that we want to achieve or accomplish, we then have to decide where can this be moved around or what can be moved around to another week or month or even quarter if there's something that is a bigger project or an idea that you think will be really great and have great results for you, but it doesn't exactly fit in this time period. You can absolutely schedule that now ahead of time for the next quarter instead of waiting and thinking, oh, when I have time, I'll work on this because that rarely happens. And time does not just produce itself and appear. We have to create it and be intentional about how our time wants to go. And all the things that come up for us, time can slip away very quickly. And as we all know, we can get to the end of a day, week, month, quarter, or year and realize, what did I even accomplish? Because we gave in to the distractions and all of the things that came up that weren't aligned, or we weren't intentional about what it was we wanted to create. Taking the time to schedule this focus time based on what those long term goals and priorities are allows us to fit in what it actually takes reasonably and what we can reasonably do to meet our goals and actually cross that finish line without beating ourselves up or having to continue to move the deadline or lose trust in ourselves. We're actually able to improve that relationship with ourselves and do what we said we were going to do. And as I mentioned, it's important to align our focus with those long term goals that we have. We can identify those long term goals and what they are and break them down into actionable, bite sized, doable steps and tactics. So, how do we know what will fit in our calendar? And how do we break these down into steps that we can take each day and week and know exactly what to focus on and what to do? We work backwards. When you decide what your goal is, let's say writing a book, I'm going to use this example because that's my top priority for this year. You look at the steps you need to take in order to achieve it. And so, what I did is I broke down the chapters and the sections that I wanted to write, and I had my outline created. And I considered my editing time and what would it take to then, once I'm done writing each section and chapter, how much time will it take me to go back and edit it myself? And then I worked in the time for my editor to go through and review and edit the book after me. And then taking time to begin the self publishing process so that I could get that all in this year. This is how I created a plan that I'm now following without much thought or effort now that it's set up for myself by my past self. So we're setting our future self up for success by doing this and making it so easy to just wake up, start your day, follow the plan, go. When we do this, as we reach each day or week, it's easy to already see where our dedicated focus time to achieve certain results is and where we can fit other items or commitments as they come up. And we want to plan for them without using up all of our free time or totally burning ourselves out. So we know exactly what we're able to do and what we need to do in that time in order to reach those goals. As you reflect on what matters to you most and remove what doesn't align with that, reaching your bigger picture goals becomes easier and easier. We talked about the importance of intentional focus in achieving your long term success and fulfillment. So, think about as you go through the coming days and weeks what you want to say no to and start practicing that. Start thinking about how you want to say it. Maybe it's just a flat no, maybe it's a I have this commitment here and I have to hit this deadline. Thank you so much for considering me, but at this time, I don't have the capacity for it. Or maybe it's a no, not right now. And you want to figure out where that does fit in your schedule so that you can help or can serve in that way. It just doesn't fit right now. So start thinking about how you want to fit that in. Prioritize your planning time and intentionality so that you understand where you're going to fit the time into your calendar and where you'll have that results focused time to really create the things that move the needle for you and what matters to you the most. And then you can align those focus efforts with your long term vision for yourself and your life. I believe in your ability to take control of your focus and create meaningful progress toward your desired vision. Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world. And as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.